Welcome to the Savvy Property Investors Podcast, a weekly show that delivers the best hard-hitting property industry news, business advice, and talks that will get you ascending in the real estate industry. Now, here's your host, the amazing award-winning property and business coach, best-selling author, and serial entrepreneur, Miss Sapphire Gray.
So welcome to the Savvy Property Investors Show, episode 7. Today we're going to be discussing how to find the right rent-to-rent HMO deal. Our guest today is Konrad from K&Z Properties Limited. Welcome to another Property Investors Show. Our guest this week is Konrad. He'll be sharing with us how to find the right rent-to-rent HMO deal. Konrad is a property investor based in Rugby. He started his property career back in 2019 without any prior business background. Konrad began with no money, no previous knowledge about property, and no confidence and self-belief. Since then, and with the right support, Konrad has gone on to complete a vast number of deals using different strategies, like deal packaging, service accommodation, property management. Konrad's main strategy is rent-to-rent to HMOs. And with this model, he has built a portfolio of over 70 rent-to-rent HMO units. He is now building his asset empire using investors and JV finance. Dropping insights on his own ongoing ventures, you can find Konrad posting on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm Sapphire Gray, your host, so let's get started. Konrad, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast. That's a real pleasure for me, and I'd like to welcome everybody listening to it, and I really hope you'll get some value from the podcast.
And I'm sure they will. So let's just dive in. So what was you basically doing before you started your property journey? And what did your first deal look like?
Well, okay, so that's a really good question, because many people may think like, okay, if you need to start in property, you need to have a lot of money, you need to know a lot of people, and you need to know about this stuff. Well, that's true. You need to know about properties, but you don't need to have money, or you don't need to know people before you start. You can meet people along the way. So before I started my property career, my property journey, I came to England in 2014. I had no money, I had no contacts, I had no friends. I was just myself on my own, and then I met my fiancée. What I was doing, current fiancée. What I was doing then, I was doing warehouse works, industrial works. So I was typical blue collar worker working for a minimum wages. So I had no chance having a large sums of money. I don't come from wealthy family. I would say I come from poverty. So you don't need to have a pot of cash to start. You just need to surround yourself with people who are on the same journey and get the accountability, get the knowledge. So as I was working in the warehouses, I started to in one warehouse I used to work for 5 years. I grew up the ladder from being a warehouse operative to a manager of the warehouse, and in that place, I didn't know what I would do in my life. I thought like going up the ladder is the thing to do, is the right thing to do, because I never experienced anything else in my life. That's what I was taught by my parents, and that's what I did. Just working hard. But in my last place of work, I started to buying warehouse returns and then selling them on.
Okay.
And this we were doing it for like 3-4 years ish, and we could see that the investment we're making brings more cash back to our pockets. And we start like looking ourselves what we can do, like invest. We've seen that investing works, Now we had to find the right path to choose and what we want to do further.
Yeah.
So accidentally we have come across Rich Dad Poor Dad. Well, my mom was recommending it to me when I was young child, but I never read it, never listened to it.
As we don't ever listen to our parents.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then I accidentally come across somewhere on YouTube, just a brief talk about this book, and then I've asked Santa Claus to get me the book, and I read it very quickly. and that's how I've discovered properties. Then when you talk about something, our 21st century mobile phones, they keep everything you talk. So that's how the adverts on my Facebook popped in on learn how to do properties. So I signed up for a free event. Then I signed up for a paid event, and that's how it all started.
Excellent. Because I'm just going back on touching on that about the growing up in poverty. Now that's my space. I always say to people, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. It was more like a plastic spoon. So I get where you're coming from. It's not about what you start with. It's where your journey takes you and how you navigate life and move yourself forward to accumulate an income for yourself. And kudos to you that you started from a warehouse and started to learn the process of doing things, signed up to a free course, then a paid one, and then moving yourself strategically forward in developing your property knowledge. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
how did you come across your first rent-to-rent HMO deal then?
Right. So it wasn't that easy. Well, when I done the first training, on the training course, everything looks so simple, so easy. Just go out, send some letters, and you'll get a deal. In reality, well, some people may find it easy. Some people may find it more difficult. Some people find the deal in the first week to 3 weeks of doing the training. But I know people who were looking for the first deal 18 months. Myself, it took me 9 months from the training. So I've done the paid training in March, and I got my first deal in January 2019.
Okay.
And I had loads of struggles, loads of rejections, loads of doubts. I was thinking it's not for me. I will give up. Luckily enough, I had somebody who was telling me, like, just do it, just keep doing it. It was my fiance who was very supportive on this. And my first deal was actually not found by me.
Okay.
I wanted to help somebody within my area. And the next day, this person came back to me saying, like, okay, you know what? I've known somebody who's got rent-to-rent deals, and it was actually 2 deals. They look into source. Would you like them? And I said, well, yeah, of course. I without much thinking said, yeah, of course, I will have it. And this helped me going. I've struggled to find it myself, so I had to pay somebody else.
Yes.
And this sort of built my momentum, built my confidence. I've learned the process. It was then easier because I had a proof, I had a track record.
True.
And I knew what I was doing. So this was the story of my first deal. I haven't found it myself. I've paid to get into property ladder.
Yeah. And how do you find deals now for yourself now that you've got that experience behind you?
Right. Okay. So within our career, we've tried, I think, every single strategy or most of the strategies, marketing strategies. What most effective for us were HMO letters, and that's my favorite strategy. However, we found deals through word of mouth. We have, well, as I mentioned, we've sourced the deal. We have what we have done. We have found a deal for sale, an investment property for sale. We found an investor who has purchased this property, and we took it on back on rent to rent. Afterwards, we did joint venture. We did letting agents, and now most of our deals come from one landlord. We've got quite a lot of deals. We've got I think around 50 rooms currently we have from one landlord.
Nice. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And that is about connecting and marketing and putting yourself out there. You didn't give up at the first hurdle when you done your course, and you just gone through the whole process. Now you're getting landlords coming to you and saying, hey, we've got these properties that we want you to take over on the rent-to-rent basis, which is a brilliant thing.
Yeah, at some point, when we get more and more, the deals flows naturally your way. People know what you do. You're the expert in the area, and people comes to you. So, and I don't take much of rent myself.
Yeah.
As of now, I'd rather to package them onto somebody else.
Yeah.
And let somebody make the money, and I just get a fee.
Really good.
For management.
Really good. So, what are some of the obstacles that you faced managing or getting your first rent-to-rent deal?
Okay, so my main problem, my main struggle was negotiation parts, because I never knew how to negotiate. I was never good at it. I've never learned that skill in my life. Well, you can't know how to negotiate when you're picking in a warehouse or offloading containers, right? So I never knew how to do it. But I was doing, and I know I was doing it completely wrong. I wasn't focusing on the person on the other side. I was just focusing on a property and how much I can make out of it. Where I wasn't thinking how to solve somebody else's problem.
True.
I was just thinking how much I can make, and the reality, we need to look at differently. If we're going with approach how I can help you, and at the same time I will make money, and that's the reality of negotiations, which I've learned along the way. I've learned the hard way, facing rejections after rejections, and after a while, I've realized, like, okay, I'm doing it wrong. With help of my mentors, I knew how to do it later, and it just become easier, more natural, and it works.
Excellent. So for some of our listeners, they may not know what rent-to-rent to HMO is. What would you say is rent-to-rent HMO?
Right. Okay. So rent-to-rent HMOs, well, for me, it's brilliant strategy, because you don't need a lot of money to buy the house. You may need a couple of grand. Well, there are ways to do it, no money down. There is already friends, relatives, credit cards. I'm not saying this is good or bad. That's how I did it at the beginning. But rent-to-rent HMO is like renting a property from the landlord. For HMO specifically, it need to be a large property, minimum of 4 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms or above. So renting a house from the landlord and then renting each room individually to a tenant, paying off the rent, paying off the bills, and what's left is ours. However, we calculated. That's how I really negotiated. I'm always saying to landlord, like, okay, we'll pay your rent, then we pay the bills, and then what's left is ours. Right? That's an example, and that's positioning it like, okay, we pay your rent, which is a huge amount, then we pay the bills, and what's left is ours. But in reality, it's a bit different. We pay ourselves first. We pay ourselves first. So we know, like, if it's a 5-bedroom, we get 5 rooms, for example. We need to know how much we can get out of room. What's our profit first? Then we need to know how much we will pay for bills, and what's left we pay to landlord.
Okay. Oh, that's a good way of flipping it around, so that you don't leave yourself shortchanged at the back end of it. Because most people, when they get into this space, they pay the landlord first. And if the landlord's asking, you get a 2,000 coming in, you got bills, you got to pay out the landlord, and you're left with this sliver of a margin for yourself, which doesn't make sense, because effectively you're a glorified, as I always say, property manager when it comes to that. HMO, rent to HMOs. So looking at it from we'll take our profit first and then divvy up what is left back for the landlord, and you've negotiated that. That's a brilliant model to sort of go drive yourself forward. And that. So
Yeah,
what do you think
absolutely.
is the best ways of finding these types of deals? Do you use social media? I mean, you talked about letter writing. Is there any other ways of finding these types of deals?
Right, as I mentioned, well, the deals are everywhere. The deals are everywhere. For HMO, particularly, it's a bit more difficult rather than service accommodation, because service accommodation can be done from any house.
Yeah.
With HMOs, they need to be a certain properties. There need to be 4 rooms or above. I personally like 5 and 6, 6 rooms the most. So the best place to target those is HMO register, because they are already registered as an HMO. There is loads of landlords who are tired, who don't want to do this anymore. They just wanna, as my mentor says, they want the baby without the labor pains.
True.
So they want to keep the asset, but they don't want the hassle. That's where we come. So targeting HMO landlords is one thing. There's definitely, well, social media. I've seen people posting on social media, like we're looking for properties, well, rather Facebook, like local groups. We're looking for properties, large properties. We can offer you guaranteed rent. We can pay your bills. We can cover maintenance, and it's about consistency doing it. Don't expect if you put one post, people will come your way. You need to do it constantly on a different groups, regularly. I know people who are getting deals through like communities, investors communities as well. It's good to be presenting yourself as an expert in your area.
True.
Well, not necessarily at the beginning. If we're starting out, we cannot present ourselves as an expert, because somebody who is experienced will know, like, oh, sorry, but
you're inexperienced.
You're not experienced. You're just stupid.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the reality. So but this is what we're building up slowly. It's a long-term game, not just short.
I know you need to be ethical when you're starting out. Just tell people you're starting out, and you're going to make mistakes when you start out, but it's getting that knowledge and building up your credibility. Because if you start saying, I'm new to the industry, but this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going into, people respect that more than you coming in and saying you're just wet behind the ears, as they used to say. Just coming in and not knowing at all what you're doing. You'll get tripped up and found out, and that's not good. So always be kind of upfront of, I'm learning, I'm doing learning the theory as well as doing the practice. So I'm going to make mistakes. Yeah.
And that's really, really great point, because I see people who has done the training, one training, they haven't done any deals, and they say like, okay, I'm an expert in this because I've done the training, but you have no experience. And if somebody don't know you, or you don't know you're just starting out, they may feel like, okay, you are an expert. But people who are in the industry, they know that you are just starting, you just done the training. They see like, oh, you're not an expert, you're just stupid, because you're just presenting. That looks much better. Okay, as I said, I'm starting out, I've done the training, and I'm really keen. I'm doing things. I'm sending letters. I'm in this area. I'm working hard. I'm presenting myself, and it builds, like, people see your journey along the people see that you becoming an expert, without you even telling that.
Absolutely.
So that's how it works.
So just before we go for a break, tell us about what the legal side of getting into rent to rents are.
Okay, so it depends what we want to achieve. If you want to, like, 1 or 2 deals, and just have some side income, we don't need even limited company. But if we want to build a business, then limited company would be beneficial from tax perspective. Well, I'm not an accountant. I just know when I was starting out, what my accountants were telling me. So limited company would be definitely helpful. Bank account. Then to manage business, professional indemnity, public liability. We need those things as well. ICO, information commission officer, is also required for HMOs. PRS or property ombudsman is another thing, and that's from the insurance, the compliance side.
Right.
Well, we definitely need a right contract, because if we are managing a property, we are not a tenant, we are as an agent. So we need a certain type of contract. It's not just, you can't find it on NRLA, downloaded and sign up with landlord. There need to be a specific contract saying we are not the tenant, we are managing agents. It can be guaranteed rent agreement, management agreement, whatever you call it, but it cannot be AST. And I think that's pretty much it to start with.
Absolutely. And what kind of funds do you need to start off with? Would you say, what's the minimum that you need when you're getting into any deals?
Right. Okay. So that's a good question. That's a really good question, because when I started, as I mentioned, I paid for my first two properties. This was 2 3-bed, 2 reception room houses where we converted both into 4 bedrooms, and just a sourcing fee costed me 7,000, and setting them up was another 8. So we spent over 15,000 to getting our first 2 rent-to-rent deals. And this was a lot. This was huge amount of money, and I would never do it again. Now we are spending roughly around, well, I would say up to 3,000.
Okay.
But we are targeting existing HMOs, so there is no need of getting house compliant. All the fire regulations are in place. We're targeting properties which are furnished, and those are good furnishing, not just like old, broken.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Furniture where it needs to. So that's a huge saving.
Yeah.
Getting compliance and furniture, if it's in place, it's a huge saving.
Absolutely.
So we spend money on decorating, painting, on home staging, and getting like all the pans, cutlery, and we're doing it within 3,000.
That's brilliant. So I'm going to go on our questioning, but join us after the break with more insights from Konrad.
Okay, see you shortly.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button below. Our podcast is only made possible by great listeners like you.
And welcome back. Konrad, you've really shared some fantastic insights with us, and I'm really appreciating all the information that you're giving to our listeners and our viewers today. So do you talked about licensing before the break. Do you have to have a specific license for a HMO?
Well, yes, if it's, well, that depends on the area, obviously, but in most of the areas, national standard is for 5 or more unrelated people. There is a need of HMO license. However, there are additional licensing in different
Local
areas. So
absolutely.
So that's worth checking wherever you are in the country. Check your legislation for HMOs, because it may need to be like 3 or more unrelated people, and the house needs a license. So I would be very careful on this, and actually the license, if we're doing rent to rent, the license is on the landlord name, and we are as a manager only. So all the responsibilities is on us anyway, but landlord pays for the license.
Does the landlord pay for the furniture package and things like that, or do you do that, or
That's something that every house is different, every landlord is different.
Yeah,
So that's all subject to negotiation.
absolutely.
When we negotiate the deal, well, now we're getting deals, a lot of them from one landlord who's
Yeah.
got good standard property, so we don't need to spend much. However, if there is like, I don't know, there's new furnishing needed,
Mm-hmm.
and we run our numbers, we need to spend like, the house needs 6,000 spent, but
Mm-hmm.
from our calculation we said like, okay, we can spend only four.
Mm.
I wouldn't I wouldn't I wouldn't give away the deal.
Yes.
I would speak to the landlord something like, okay, Mr. Landlord, we are happy. We like the property. We're looking at the other one as well, but
Yeah.
this one looks better. This one would be better for our
Mm-hmm.
clients. And from our calculation, it looks like we need to spend 6,000 to make it to standard we need.
Yeah.
However, from our calculation, it looks like we can only put 4,000. Otherwise, it gets too much for us.
Yes.
Would you be able to add additional 2,000 from your own pocket,
Mm-hmm.
so we can invest 6,000 in and add value to your house? And
Okay.
quite often, the landlord says yes. If they say no, we're asking like, okay, so what we can do? Maybe we could pay you, like, for example, reduced rent of a 500 for
Yeah.
months, if that's easier for you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all down to negotiation.
Okay. Excellent. So when you've got your landlord, he's agreed or she's agreed to rent out the house back to you, or you manage it. Where do you actually find the tenants? Because that's the one thing that is going to give you the revenue coming in. So where does your tenants come from then?
Okay, so that's a good question. Um, so we do online marketing for
Mm-hmm.
tenants. There are multiple ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the good platform for marketing is Spare Room, uh, and I would recommend paying like you can pay, like, if you have one property, you can pay £30 for a month to make it, like, not to have,
Prominent. That's right.
yeah,
A
be a bit
feature
higher
ad.
on the
Yeah,
listings.
yeah.
We
Feature
pay
ad.
we pay yearly 300,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have like, I think, 3 or 4 properties which we can boost every single month. So Spare Room is great. We use Open Rent as
Mm-hmm.
well. You can pay uh, on different levels from, I think, 30 to £50 for ad. We don't spend a penny. We use only free marketing down there, which is working.
Mm-hmm.
Gumtree isn't the greatest anymore. It was much better a couple of years ago. However, it's about being everywhere, and we're still getting good tenants from Gumtree.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook groups, Facebook Marketplace. These are really powerful tools because everyone's got nowadays got Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a lot of filtering of tenants on Facebook. However, there is loads of demand. There are loads of inquiries in there.
Yeah.
So those 5 places. What else? It's good to have to chat with companies. For example, if there is, I don't know, like a warehouse,
Mm-hmm.
speak to companies saying, okay, we can accommodate your people if they're looking for properties. It's great place to look up for tenants is, for example, recruitment agencies.
Mm-hmm.
They got people coming from all over the world, from
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Europe, from different cities, moving them, relocating the jobs, so they can provide a lot of tenants. So it's just about being creative, but
Creative.
tenants are everywhere.
True. Thanks for that advice. And Spare Rooms is one of the portals that we actually use as well to generate our leads for tenants as well.
Mhm.
You know, every one of us has started out from a place of zero, no business knowledge, learning a new industry, getting into business. How can someone build their confidence in approaching landlords for this type of strategy?
Well, if we starting a new job,
Mm-hmm.
for example, and we work there 2 years, for just as an example.
Mm-hmm.
After 2 years, we are much better and much more confident than in day one.
Mm.
It's the same with properties. It's the same with everything. It's all learned skill. When I was starting out, I was thinking how the trainer, my mentor, who's my mentor actually, how
Mm-hmm.
he confident can be. How's that possible to be so confident?
Yes.
And when I started doing things, practicing all over and over and over again, you become better.
Yes.
And you know how to handle objections. You know what the questions landlord's asking. You
Mm-hmm.
know what the agents asking questions. It is repeatable, maybe in a different words.
Mm-hmm.
However, it becomes natural and you
True.
just follow it. So it's
True.
just about practicing.
I get that, and I always say it's getting out of your own way and being confident in it enough to just say, ask a question. It's all about having a conversation with somebody else. It's not
Yeah.
about you asking to take something from them for nothing. You're saying, look, I'm trying to do some business with you, and it's growing your confidence to say, I got a service that I know you need, and you've got a property that I would need. So it's a win-win situation for both. But growing confidence is just continuous work and continuous doing it. Because even if you're a seasoned investor, there's still some deals that is out there that you want to broke and you lack the confidence. Always just say go for it, because there's two answers in life that we have: is yes or no. Someone's going to
Mhm.
tell you no 1,000 times, but that one yes could be your most biggest yes
Yeah,
that you had today. So thank you
absolutely.
so much for sharing all your insights and that. And I know every business has some challenges and ups and downs, but you seem to have navigated all the inroads for yourself and your family and moving yourself forward. So what can our listeners glean from you? What's one of the top tips you can offer to our listeners?
Well, the top tips, well, definitely never give up. It will be worth it. It's gonna be hard. It's not gonna be easy, but it will be worth it. So
Hmm.
never ever give up. Surround yourself with like-minded people, with people on the same journey, people on a different levels, people who are way above your level, but the
Hmm.
same people who are on your level. Well, and then later people who are below you.
Hmm.
People on the top to get inspiration, people on the same level to get accountability,
Mm.
and push yourself forward, and then people on the level below to help them because somebody helped you in the past.
I love that.
So surround yourself with good people.
Hmm.
uh Tip number 3. Oh, okay. Tip number 3. uh okay. Let me think. Never give up. Surround yourself with people, and be prepared for
Hmm.
challenges. They
Hmm.
will always be. There will always be some obstacles. There will always be some challenges. It's just a part of the game. And always remember why you are doing this.
Absolutely.
Have a strong why. Otherwise, if you've hit the brick wall,
Hmm.
you'll remember why are you
Yeah,
doing this, and this will
absolutely.
help you keep your head up and keep going forward. um
And that's a brilliant tip. Absolutely, your why. I've always lived by that and always believe when you're starting out on anything you're doing in life, understand why you're doing it. And always, a tip I want to add to your tips is be passionate about what you do as well.
oh yeah, and people see your
Mm,
passion, and if you come and you believe in what you do.
that's right.
But if you believe what you do, you have the passion probably of what you
True.
do. If you don't believe on your service, or you're not passionate about, you won't go anywhere. People
That's
will
right.
notice that you're just doing like being in a job.
Yeah,
If
just
you're in
doing
a
it.
job and you don't like it, people see it. Like
True.
it can be seen from a mile away.
Absolutely.
But
Agree
if
with
you're
that.
passionate about, people are more likely to do business with you because they see that
Absolutely.
that's your thing.
Yeah, people grow to know, like, and trust you. So therefore, if you're passionate about it, it just oozes out of you. They want to work with you. You're enthusiastic. They feel that you're confident, and it just gives great kudos to you when you are passionate about something. So, Konrad, how can our listeners and viewers contact you and learn more about your services that you offer?
Right. Okay. So I mainly use Facebook. I've got a page, Konrad Gajda Entrepreneur. So you can feel free to follow me and like the page. You can message me on my private account on Facebook as well. I'm the most responsible over there. Instagram, I need to be more out there on Instagram. Same as LinkedIn. I do have accounts, and I'm working to build up the presence over there as well.
Excellent. So come on, savvy investors, let's take flight. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, download, and definitely share our podcasts. Thank you, Konrad, for joining us today on the Savvy Property Investors Show. We'll see you next week. So don't forget to like us and subscribe to us. I hope you enjoyed today's show on how to find the right rent-to-rent HMO deals.
This week's episode of the Savvy Property Investors Podcast was brought to you by our sponsor, the Savvy Women Group. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, head over to our website, www.savvywomen.co.uk, to gain access to our free resources and more insights about our guest speaker today. Remember, we make your business our business, so you can unlock your full potential and improve your quality of life.